Okay, in this video tutorial what we're going to look at is just a brief look or a brief introduction to creating UIs. So let me just show you this example. So here we have just this character, and we have a health bar. When we go over the fire, the health starts going down. So I'm going to go over this. And then we have a restore that will restore the health back up to 100%. So it's just a very quick way of, a very quick example for creating this custom UI. So I've just opened up a completely new template. This is just a third-person template with starter content as well. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a health variable that we can use within the UI to alter the health amount. So up to blueprints, I'm going to open a blueprint class and then open the third person character up, and we're going to store the health in here because it's attached to the player character, so it just makes sense to do that. So within variables, I'm going to create a new variable. I'm going to call this max health. So what I'm going to do with this is actually store the maximum amount of health that our character can have. This means that if I need to restore the health to the full amount, I can use this variable. So I'm going to set this from a boolean to an integer. If I just compile that, that allows me just to put in an amount there. And I'm also going to make this public or visible so that it can be changed on the fly within the details panel. So I'm going to create another variable, and this one I'm going to call, if I could spell, current health. Again, this is an integer. Let's compile that. I'm just going to leave the value at 0 for now. Okay. So that being done, I'm going to set this current health and give it a value straight away. So what I'm going to do is go into the construction script. I'm going to drag a version of the current health in, so we need to set this. So I'm going to we can either drag it in. We've got a get and set, or I can alt drag to give that a set. To connect this up. And with the max health, I want to get this value, so I'm going to control click. I can join that up. Okay. So when this is made, this is going to just set this current health to max health. So in the event graph now, what we need to do is create some functions. And the reason I'm using functions is so that I can create a function which is going to create the functionality of taking away health or restoring health, and from there we'll be able to call this from anywhere. So in my functions, I'm going to create a new function. This first function is going to be called damage player, and I'm going to add an input to this. So I'm just going to click on new, give this a new parameter. Let's call it damage amount. I'm going to make this an integer, and what this means is that we could actually use different objects to send different amounts of damage to this when it's called. So again, another little bit of functionality. So with a damage player, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to use our current health. So let's drag this out. We need both versions of it, so I need to get this, control drag, and I also need to set this, so alt drag. So we're going to click this in, and then what we're going to do is take our current health, and I'm going to do an integer minus integer. And what we're going to do is take away this damage amount from the current health and then plug this in to the current health itself. compile and save that. With the next function, what we'll do is create one called restore player. I call this restore health. And all I'm going to do with this one is just alt drag in the current health to set. And this is where we can use the max health. I'm going to alt drag out to set, control drag out the max health and plug this into current health. So it's just going to restore the health to the maximum amount that we set at the start. Okay. Let's drag that to one side. So now what we need to do is just create something that's going to take away this health. So I'm just going to create a new folder in the content. I'm going to call this BC for Blueprint class. And I'm going to right click and create a new Blueprint class as an act type. I'm going to call this BC underscore damage. And let's double click on this. And what I'm going to use is just something from the content, the starter content, the particles, and I'm going to use this fire effect. So I'm just going to drag this up and add that to my class. I'm going to add in a point light. Just set the attenuation down on this. And I'm going to change the colour. If there's a bit of an orange glow. And I'm going to up the intensity. What I'm also going to do is add in a box collision. I'm going to resize this up. So get something like that. Okay. So now in the event graph, let's just get rid of these. Actually, I'll just get rid of these two. So what I'm going to do is just click on the box and add two events, two collision events. I'm going to add a component begin overlap and also a component end overlap. And the reason I've kept this tick is we're going to loop round on this. So essentially what I want to happen is that when we're within the box, this is going to cycle round and it's going to take away from our health. When we leave the box, this is going to stop cycling round. Essentially this is going to work on a variable, and we're going to create a Boolean variable that creates a true false to essentially say if damage can be caused or not, based on whether we're in the box or out of the box. So let's create a variable. Let's call this cause damage. And I'm going to leave this as a Boolean variable. Let's compile this, and we're going to leave this as false at the start. We also need a variable for the damage amount. Okay. So the damage amount I'm going to change to an integer, and this is going to be passed over to the function that we're going to call that was in the third person character. So let's just compile that. Let's just set the damage amount to a base value of 1. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this public as well so that they can change it on the fly. So from our event tick, it's going to come out, and I'm going to do a branch. So the condition we're going to place into this branch is this cause damage, so let's control drag that out. And let's connect that in. And then what we need to do is cast to the third person character. So I'm just going to use a cast to. Start typing in third person, and we're going to use the third person character. We need to cast this from the get player character. So I'm just going to get that player. I'm going to cast it into the third person character class. And then from there, we're actually going to trigger off that function. So if we go back here, you see we've got this damage player function. Let's just drag this out as third person character. Let's just type in damage. And here we have this call function, damage player. Okay. So the damage amount, we're going to take from our damage amount here. So let's control drag this out. And let's just plug that in. And just to check for this, I'm just going to add print string. In fact, no, what I'll do is I'll add that actually to our third person character. So on the damage player, I'm going to drag this out here and add a print string onto the end of this function. Helps if I actually select it, print string. And then we're going to drag across this current health amount. And it's going to automatically convert that from an integer to a string for us. So let's just compile and save that again. So what we've got in our BC damage, so we've got this event tick which is going to cycle around. If it's true, it's going to allow this to keep checking this. It's going to cast to the third person, it's going to add damage. If this is false, it's not going to pass through this. Okay, so we need to be able to set this to be true or false. So let's just drag out this cause damage. I'm going to alt drag to set. So from our overlap, I want to set this to be true. Alt drag this out again. On the end overlap, I want that to go back to false. Okay. So let's just test that out. Let's just go to my content, BC, let's drag this in. And let's just play this. So we've got there, it's actually taken away from my health, but it is going a bit quick. So I'm just going to go back to my damage. Going to give myself a bit of room here. And what I'm going to do is add in a delay. So I'm going to just put this in the middle of this. So now it's going through this delay. It's just going to pause a little bit before it checks every time. So it's just going to slow this down a little bit. So I play this now. You see now it's much slower as it's going down in value. Okay. So I'm also going to do a restore health. So again, I'll create another blueprint class. Let's create an actor. Let's call this BC restore. Do this quite quickly now. Let's just go in and in our starter content, particles, and this time I'm going to use the P smoke. Drag that in. I'm going to add in a point light, and again just take down the radius. Let's make this green. I'm going to up the attenuation on this. Let's add in another box collision. Again, just resize this a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to go into the event graph for this one. Get rid of all of these. I'm going to highlight the box and let's add an event for this. Call it collision, and let's add a begin overlap. And with this one, we're going to straight call the function. So I'm going to do a cast to third person character again. Let's drag off and get player character, and then let's check my name for my function. So we're going to call this restore health. Let's drag out as third person character, just type in restore health, and that's connected up our target as well. So let's compile and save that. And again, let's just go in. Oh, let me drag this out, sorry. Just press escape. So let's just drag this into the viewport and let's play. So this one is going to take away our health. What this one is going to do is restore our health, which you can't really see here, but when we go back to this, you'll see it starts at 99 again. Okay, so that's the initial setup. What I'll do is I'll finish this tutorial here, and in the next tutorial I'll talk through actually creating the user interface.